as a calendar year draws to a close, Arubos, the snake, bites its own tail, and we have the opportunity to spiral to a new level of experience, or we can continue in cycles of repetition and karma. And the reality is most people will just cycle into cycle into a new year, but repeating, not really in a position to be able to take advantage of that, not understanding how to take advantage of it. And so old cycles repeat because the good medicine of successful completion and successful commencement has not been undertaken or understood or fully grasped. People are feeling more and more stressed, more and more confused, and more unsure on how to navigate the times ahead, because we are living in an increasingly uncertain world. So when we can discover how to maximize the coming year by understanding the upcoming tides of power at work in the life, then we are in a very, very different position. It doesn't mean what's happening in the world doesn't happen, but what it means is our relationship, we're able to be in the center of the wheel and to navigate from that place of personal power, soul power, and spiritual power, so that we can maximize the opportunities that a year brings. Having an awareness of cycles, I can't stress enough how important that is. Cycles are part of human existence. It is so easy it's so easy to get caught up in the mundane matters of life, particularly in the 21st century, to get caught up in the mundane matters of life and the hustle and bustle and the hurry and flurry, and we lose touch with one, cycles, and two, an awareness of cycles. And we do that at our peril, really, certainly to our detriment, physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. So cycles are part of our human existence. There are many, many, many different kinds of cycles. Two most obvious, we have cosmic cycles, what's happening in the heavens. We have earthly cycles, what's happening on the earth. So cycles anchor us into life on earth. So if we just look at those two cycles, earthly cycles and cosmic cycles. So here we are, we're a divine child mediating between the heavens and the earth, co-creating with the powers of heaven and earth. And so those cycles, to having an awareness of those is actually vital. Otherwise, we are disenfranchised, we're disconnected, we're disengaged, all of the disses, disassociated, disconnected, etc. So cycles are really, really valid part of our spiritual health, our soul's health, our mental health, our emotional health, and our physical health. Because if we're out of touch with cycles, then being out of touch with cycles means we're out of relationship. If we're out of relationship with something, that means that we are out of alignment, we're out of accord. If we are out of relationship or out of alignment or accord, when we are in a state of disharmony. If we are in a state of disharmony, then our organism is in a state of stress. And if our organism is in a state of stress, if our psyche or our soul is in a state of stress, then our spirit is going to be in a state of stress. So cycles, that unavoidable in terms of they're part of our life, whether we're in a relationship with them or not is another thing. The power of cycles affects us and shapes our life. And when I say our life as an individual, I'm talking about our physical and our metaphysical self, our personality, our soul, our spirit. So we must pay attention to them as part of our human self's journey, as part of our soul's journey, and as part of our spiritual journey. They help us to stay connected to the heavens and the earth. And if we are connected, then we are in a state of flow. We are in a state of the flow from the flow of life force, prana, chi, from above and below. And so then we are a powerhouse. If we're disconnected, then we're really a pale shadow of what we are capable of, because we're not plugged in. So being plugged into cycles is vital. We're plugged into the divine, and very important for us not to lose our connection. The closing, for instance, of this year, in many ways, that's an invisible cycle. It's affecting the collective. It affects us individually. And we can look at a calendar and say, yes, that's the end of the year. But actually, it's an invisible tide of power that is closing. And a new door opens to a new cycle. And we mark that by the calendar. And so we all know this year's ending and this one's beginning, but we're not in the flow of it. Most people will just think, oh, I can't wait for 2024 to be over. I'm so over it. I just want to leapfrog into 2025 without really having an understanding of the opportunities within that, the challenges within that, the gifts within that, and to be able to dance with that new cycle because it's invisible. So cycles are, just coming back to say our astrological pattern or matrix that we come in for the cycle of this life, we can equally outgrow that. And that cycle has ended for us, and we need to be free from that matrix and free to recreate ourselves, which is those of you who are doing Phoenix Rising are aware of that power that you have to do that. So these individual cycles that are very, very much at work, that are there waiting as a gift for us to understand and to be in tune with and to co-create with. So cycles, in a nutshell, cycles are all about change, understanding that every cycle or tide of power has a beginning and end, and the most powerful and pivotal times in a cycle are the beginning and the ending. So the importance of the ending or completion phase of a cycle, and in this case, we're obviously specifically going to be referring to the yearly cycle, the calendar year cycle, and the importance of the commencement or new beginnings phase is critical. Cycles have a natural birth, death, life, or ending process built into them, and every tide is an opportunity to the soul. So if we understand that, and we understand what is the opportunity in a cycle, and in other words, what is the opportunity in the ending of 2024? What is the opportunities in the beginning of 2025? Then we are in a position to be riding a tide of empowerment versus a tide of disempowerment for the soul. Because if we don't know how to have good closure and good commencement, then we're likely to be entering in from a disempowered state to begin with, because we have no idea what's really going on. All we're wanting to do is just for an old year to, wipe the old year to close and a new one to begin. But unless we understand, unless we have good medicine for good closure and commencement, all we're going to be doing, we don't have a clean slate at all. We think, oh, a new year, fresh new year, fresh start. Well, that's a crock of crap, because all we're going to be doing, it's not a fresh slate or a blank piece of paper. We're just going to be writing over what we've already written. And so it's likely to be a disempowering experience for the soul. And if we take that a step further, then the year is if we're coming from that place of disempowerment for the soul because we haven't known, we're not going forward with that good medicine, then inevitably the year is fate. In other words, we're just kind of going round in circles, as opposed to tide of empowerment. We understand what's going on, good closure, good commencement, and then we are striking out for our destiny. So there's a big difference between sort of going along for the ride and actually behind the wheel. So cycles, important, very, very important on our soul's evolutionary journey. And the one we're focusing on for this workshop is the year cycle. And we learn how to ride that cycle, to ride that wave. It is a tide of power. And so to do that successfully, we need to understand the invisible cycles, the weather. And that's what we're going to be doing later on in part 3. We're going to be looking at the weather forecast for 2025. Everybody's going to have the same weather. It's how you're going to ride that tide of power. Do you understand what I'm saying? This is a collective cycle. So a collective cycle is something that affects everybody. So the calendar year is one that affects everybody. So it's a collective cycle, as opposed to, say, your personal transit that you might be having in your astrological chart, or a personal relationship cycle you might be going through. That's unique to you. So I said we've got lots of things happening. Collective cycles, individual cycles. The collective cycle of the calendar year is a really, really, really important one to understand. And that's what you'll be understanding. So everybody will be experiencing that same weather, but you know how to find the opportunities in that. And that's your personal choice. That's the difference between fate or destiny. Your free will is how are you going to work with that cycle? What are you going to do? What's the invitation and the opportunity that exists for the collective? So what I'm revealing to you about going to be revealing to you about 2025, everybody's got that opportunity, but the reality is only a little smidgen are actually interested and interested in evolution, consciously at this stage in their evolution, interested in participating at that and going on that journey of freedom and liberation and being a true individual. You determining the growth you wanted to make in this lifetime. You determining the means, like I said before, the Ubers that you could catch. So, the year is an Uber to take you from here to there. So that's what the Wheel of Fortune tells us, right? There are these moments, these times we need to be at a certain place at a certain time in consciousness. And the cycles are our means to do that. We can only take advantage of those cycles if we are in the center of the wheel. If we are mass consciousness, we'll be aware of the outside. Oh, everything's going great in my life. Oh, no, it's not. Oh, everything's going well in the world. Oh, no, it's not. So that's that up and down. Oh, my goodness me, I'm just caught up and I'm so stressed because this is happening. I'm so stressed about this. I'm worried about the state of the world, worried about whatever it may be. And so we're caught up in the external events and not maximizing the opportunity, not even understanding what's written for us in that cycle. If we look at the figures there, the book, okay, there are things written. We'll experience certain things in our life. It's written for us. We have free will, how we're going to respond to those things, but things are going to happen in life. And how we're going to respond to those. So our ability for that real meaning of that Wheel of Fortune, really understanding that if we get caught up in the actual events, the dramas, and not understanding the opportunity, right? What's my home place? This is all going on, but what's my home place in this cycle? What's my standing place? The place that I suppose it's a little bit like, I don't know, I'm just getting an image of sort of if you can imagine water that's rocky and moving, and you've got a platform and you've got to keep your balance on this moving, to get to stop from falling into the sea. So that's that balancing act, right? There's things going on in the world. The energy might be all stirred up. There's things going on in the world, but you've got your point of balance, which is understanding what that tide of power is you've got to ride. And if you don't ride it, then you fall off and you get caught up in the hysteria or the worry or whatever it might be. We can stay in the center of the wheel from this place of incredible poise and et cetera, but we need to stay engaged with what is happening in the world. We can't just separate ourselves off. We're not in the Piscean age where we can go into the monasteries and the nunneries and everything's happening outside around us. We're in the Aquarian age where we are a householder, in the age of the householder. Mortgages, children, jobs, whatever it may be. Dealing with internet issues, password issues. So our responsibility is to understand, right, we stay in the center by, let's look at 2025. You'll understand the energies of 2025. That's one of the ways you can stay in the center. Yep. So it's not just, oh, I'm a holier than thou person here doing my, whatever it might be, my secret practice, and I'm totally untouched by the world. Well, yeah, that might be great, but have you maximized the opportunity that tide of power brought? And that's what we want to do, because that's how we get from A to B.